Welcome back again to the latest episode of Last Week I Watched. My name's Mark, and I watch stuff and review it to help you decide whether you want to watch stuff or not. So this week I'm reviewing Altered Carbon, Await Further Instructions, Day of the Dead Bloodline, Necrotronic, it's quite a mouthful that one, The Mouse, M-A-U-S, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and The Trip. Most of these are still in relation to Scary October, Halloween, so let's get into it. Okay, so first up is a TV series. This is Altered Carbon. It's from 2018. It's on Netflix, and it stars Joel Kinnaman in season 1, Anthony Mackie in season 2, and Chris Connor and others. It's set in the future where mankind has found a way to download their consciousness to store, I guess, your soul digitally. It's digitized and stored in a little disc thing in your neck, and you can be transferred across the galaxy, much the same way as copying a file on the internet. You can be put into a new body if you decide you fancy something different, or you want to swap gender or race or whatever, or obviously if you're about to die. This is obviously further exacerbated the class divide in that the extremely wealthy now are still lording it over the ones below, and they're now effectively immortal, since they're the only ones that really have the money to be able to afford good bodies, luxury items, and all of that sort of thing. So into this story comes I guess he's a mercenary / detective or something. He was something to do with an uprising that was had with a group that was seeking to overthrow the immortals in order to return real death. As you know, people should probably not be living forever and ever and ever. But he's basically put back into a new sleeve, I think is what they call them. Put back into a new sleeve, and then ordered to that he can earn his freedom if he finds out who killed a particular wealthy immortal. Anyway, it's quite a good noir cyberpunk type story, as he tries to follow down various leads and groups and things who could have grudges against these rich and wealthy and would be seeking to wipe them out. Season 2 continues along the story of him in a new sleeve, looking to find someone from his previous life in the Resistance, and sort of goes into the backstory on the home world that they came from, and I guess the sort of where the technology and things has come from, and sort of expands on that story a bit more. Anyway, the story's excellent. I haven't read the books, but I have to say I would be interested to read them now. It's pretty good. It's very, very reminiscent of something like Neuromancer or some of the cyberpunk type stories. It's got some quite interesting ideas and some interesting social commentary to put on it. Probably one of my favourite characters is Poe. He's an AI based around Edgar Allan Poe, and he runs a Poe-themed hotel. So he's a bit of fun, and he's quite an interesting sidekick to bounce off of throughout the story. And of course he has his own issues being an AI as well. So I highly recommend it. Check it out if you haven't already. It's very good. It's on Netflix, so give it a look. So next up on the list is Await Further Instructions. It's a movie from 2018 starring Sam Gittins, Nekrotronic, apologies if I butchered your name, and David Bradley. It's showing on Netflix. So it follows a family Christmas get-together that takes an unusual turn when everybody finds themselves trapped in the house, unable to leave. And they start receiving strange instructions through the TV that they need to follow. opening the doors and the windows on the house, they find they can't get out anymore. There's some kind of black substance wrapping the house. It seems to go all the way around the house, including the ceiling, the walls, windows, doors, everything. They start getting increasingly bizarre instructions on things to do, and the household starts to fracture along different lines. Some of them feel they should follow the instructions ruthlessly. Some of them are obviously trying to work out what's going on. Some of them just want to watch the world burn, I guess. It's quite a good story. It was quite interesting, actually. It reminded me of a story, I think, from the Twilight Zone years ago with, I think it was I remember seeing it was a family trapped inside a house. Again, similar thing, they couldn't get out of the doors and windows and things like that. And the temperature in the house keeps ramping up and up and up. And yeah, they're unable to get out. So it sort of reminds me of that, even though it's not the same sort of story. Because in that story, without any spoilers, the Twilight Zone one, I think it turned out that the family were actually dolls in a doll's house, and the little girl's brother had put the doll house in the air conditioning vent or something like that, and it was getting hot in there, and these dolls were having an existential crisis. But it's not that. Don't worry about that at all. Yeah, it was very good. It was certainly original, and I enjoyed it. It certainly ratchets up the tension quite effectively. Some of the characters are particularly unlikable, but I have to say they are quite real world. Everybody's had that sort of obnoxious family member that you want to get away from, and in this case they can't. So I would check it out. It's on Netflix. It's called Await Further Instructions. Give it a look. The next film was Day of the Dead Bloodline. It's from 2017. It starred Sophie Skelton, Marcus Vanko, and Jonathan Shaich. Again, apologies, I butchered it. And it was showing on Netflix. So this one, again, it's a zombie movie following a group of military personnel trying to survive in a bunker while searching for a cure against the zombie virus. It's okay. It's not the greatest zombie movie I've ever seen. They're largely restricted to a location, the aforementioned bunker. There's not really too much going on other than, a zombie gets loose in there and chaos ensues. I guess the one original idea that I did kind of like was that it followed them a little bit before the zombie plague kicked off, and one of the nurses or doctors or whatever that was an epidemiologist, something like that, she was being pursued by an obsessive stalker. And he becomes a zombie. And it's kind of interesting that he, I guess, retains more of some semblance of his past life, and that he's still obsessively stalking her. Now he's a zombie. So that was, I guess, one point of difference. It's okay, but you've seen one zombie, you've seen the movie, you've seen them all. There wasn't enough there to make it really impressive or anything. It's not visually that exciting. The effects aren't that amazing or anything like that. It's okay. Up to you. Take it or leave it. So the next movie on the list was a Necrotronic. It was from 2018. Starred Ben O'Toole, David Wenham, and Monica Bellucci. Is on Netflix again. So I was a bit interested in this. This was an Australian movie. It's not zombies this time. It's demons and the undead. A man discovers he is part of a secret sect of demon hunters who hunt down and destroy demons in the internet. So, points for originality there. Yeah, I've never seen anything where they've tried to mash up monsters in the internet. It's very much an Ash vs. the Evil Dead kind of scenario. It's a comedic, kind of scary, monstery type thing. Doesn't take itself too seriously. It was a good time, actually. It was surprisingly fun. The effects are pretty good. They look like they had a decent budget. The characters were fun. I particularly enjoyed the guys, the main character's sidekick Rangi, the Maori Wraith sidekick. He was a bit of fun, and yeah, didn't take itself too seriously, and yeah, made a nice change. It is kind of a mashup also of sort of elements of Ghostbusters and The Matrix and things like that, but that's fine. Everything sort of takes elements of other things and builds on top of them, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I recommend it if you're looking for something like that. If you enjoyed Ash vs. the Evil Dead, you're just looking for something that's a bit fun, check it out. Okay, next was The Mouse, M-A-U-S. It's a German spelling, I think, of mouse. It's from 2017. It stars August Wittgenstein and Alma Terzic. It's on Netflix. It's mixed languages, so it's not necessarily all German or anything like that. It does swap between English and Bosnian, Serbian, and all sorts of things. Basically, we follow the characters Alex and Selma after they become stranded in a forest in Bosnia when their four-wheel drive breaks down. My pug is into mischief. Lost and seemingly surrounded by landmines, a pair of locals offer to guide them home. Things obviously get out of hand from there. So yeah, it's an interesting movie. I guess it touches on the legacy of the conflict that happened prior. Hold on a sec, I have to go and see what he's up to. He's no good, and hopefully he's not eating the TV remote again. Alright, I'm back. Apologies for that brief interruption. However, I'm glad I did, because he's eaten the cover of my wife's textbook, so someone's not going to be happy when she gets home. Alright, now, back to where we were. We're talking about The Mouse. So, yeah, so it touches on PTSD and I guess the legacy of the Bosnian and Serb conflict. And that I guess both sides can't trust each other and can't get along, and I guess the inherent mistrust, whether justified or not, is a thing. Selma, one of the main characters, has clearly quite severe PTSD, and I think as the story goes along it becomes clear that she's an unreliable narrator as well. It's a little hard to follow what's going on. It does kind of jump around a little bit, but I think it makes sense in the end. Her partner Alex can't understand Selma's point of view. He can't understand why she's so threatened by the two men, and I guess that's largely due to him not having had the life experiences that she's had. As things go along, when they're threatened by these men, a dark figure appears with Selma. She alludes to this as being her guardian through her strong religious beliefs, but in more likelihood I think it's probably more her dark protector. I think it's more the strong side of herself that protects and defends herself as she starts to, I guess, fight back against these people. The ending's a bit of a twist ending. It's a bit unusual. I'll discuss spoilers here now, so if you want to pause and skip over to the next one, feel free. But the ending's a little bit confusing, but Selma steps on a landmine, and then there's some did she die, didn't she die? I think, personally, my interpretation is that she died, and that Alex survived then, but was then severely scarred with his own PTSD and his own experiences. And then this goes on to give, I guess, Alex his own guardian, his own dark side now that responds to this act of terror in a particular way, so that when he later experiences something in a park, he then responds, I guess, in a particular way. Yeah, and I think then that's why I think personally his guardian is then Selma, which represents then his dark side and how he responds to it. So it's an interesting film. It's an interesting film. You have to think about it. I don't think there are any particularly easy answers with it. Yeah, there's some confrontational things, and you do have particularly what happens with the other two guys who I guess don't necessarily have Selma's best interests at heart, or whether that's magnified because of her perspective over prior events and things that happened to her during the war and things like that. Yeah, I like a movie where you have to think about it sometimes, and yeah, this is pretty good. So I would recommend this. Check it out if you want something a little bit different that you maybe want to have a bit of a think about. Give it a watch. Okay, so the next film is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's from 2019, stars Zoe Margaret Coletti, Michael Garza and Dean Norris. It was on Netflix. And I was excited about this one because it's got a Guillermo del Toro input into it. I do enjoy the stuff that he puts out. It's often fantastically imaginative with great creatures and everything else, so I was interested in this. So it's about children trick-or-treating on Halloween in 1968, and they stumble into a haunted house and find a book belonging to, I guess, a previous inhabitant, the local urban legend around town. When they find the book, the book then starts enabling sinister things to happen. It tells stories about people in town, and then things happen to them. So it's an anthology-style horror movie in that there's a sort of an overall framing device, a narrative story with the main children and the town and things, and then sort of miniature stories set inside that main story with what happens to some of these characters that they encounter throughout the night on Halloween. So it's not super scary. I personally wasn't scared by it. It could be scary to small children. It is only rated PG-13, so it's fine, but I was more interested, I guess, in the imaginative side of it. There was one particular story that was particularly gross, but I think that's more because of the elements of body horror in it, and you know, nobody likes the idea of anything being under their skin, let alone bursting out of anywhere. So that was quite good. It's based on a book series for young adults. I guess it's kind of like Goosebumps or something like that. But yeah, it's quite good. I recommend it if you want something to watch over Halloween with the kids. You've got younger kids, it's fine. Probably not like super young, but sort of pre-teens should be fine. Anyway, recommend check it out. And yeah, if you haven't seen any of the other Guillermo del Toro's as well, some of his other movies are fantastic as well. I definitely recommend Pan's Labyrinth, Devil's Backbone, some of those other ones as well. Okay, and final movie for this week was The Trip. It's from 2021. It starred Noomi Rapace, Axel Hennie, and Atle Antonsson. It's on Netflix. It's Norwegian. You will need to watch this with subtitles. It's about a dysfunctional couple. They are not getting on well at all, and arguably they should probably not be together, but they decide to go away for the weekend to stay at the man's cabin, father's cabin, and I guess try to ostensibly patch things up. However, they have other plans for each other. Basically, they plan to make sure the other meets with an accident. However, things go very wrong when other visitors arrive, and then they're both faced with even greater danger than what they pose to each other. So it's a black comedy, I would say, with horrific elements, rather than a straight up horror movie. There's no monsters or anything like that. It's really just the monstrous behaviour of people in this case, and we all know that's pretty true. It's kind of similar to Home Alone in some ways. Some of the things that start happening in the house are with some of the household items are pretty far out and pretty funny in a way, not to mention painful. It's good fun. It's definitely more for the adults though than the kiddies. This is not Home Alone PG for the kiddies, so don't think those two are the same things. Somebody getting hit in the face with a paint can here is definitely going to be hurt, not so much in Home Alone. There's a few unexpected twists that bring in side characters as well throughout the story, which is good. It's kind of interesting to branch off into some of these other characters then and how they affect the narrative as it goes along. The main characters do some stupid things. but I suppose that rings true in the way that people would probably behave in a situation like that. I have to say though that if I was in that situation, I do not think that I would drop the weapon and run. Take the damn weapon with you. That was pretty stupid, I would have thought, but anyway, who knows? Some people don't behave well under pressure. It does become quite gory towards the end, so I do warn you, there is some stuff involving a lawnmower and yeah, other elements. But yeah, it was a good movie. I definitely recommend it. It's well worth watching. Noomi Rapace is fantastic in anything. Yeah, they're definitely not the nicest couple ever. Check it out. Anyway, it's on Netflix. Alright, well, that's what I watched this week. I hope there's some recommendations in there that you might be interested in. As always, if you want to discuss any of these things, feel free to leave comments below in the comments, and I'll try to reply or discuss with you if you want. If you have any suggestions, leave those below as well. I'm always interested to see if there's something that I should check out that you think is worthwhile. And as always, click on the subscribe and the like button if you liked this video and found it helpful. I hope to see you next time, and we'll start to review some other more regular content rather than just horror movies now as we exit spooky season. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye now.